Can people hear me? Great, okay, perfect. I seem to be the last slot standing between you and your way home, so I will try to keep it as brief as possible. Although my topic probably is not as interesting and encouraging, so if I could have the presentation, please. Perfect. So today I stand before you to talk about enhancing digital and operational resilience. Basically, when you run a brand, there are multiple things that are happening, multiple systems, multiple processes. My job is to try and shed some light on how you could ensure that these things don't fail in a crisis. So a little bit about myself, and things have changed from the statistics given there. I'm the co-founder of Fable Square. We are a digital marketing and visual communication brand. We work with about 450 clients, and I've done over 1,200 projects. This ranges from a mompreneur who's trying a second innings at starting a business all the way up to Fortune 10 companies, right? 10 years now with Fable Square itself and a total of about 12 years of work experience. So let's understand what is resilience before we go into the next part. So resilience is the capacity to effectively respond and recover from challenges and disruptions, which any of us entrepreneurs here can attest to. Pretty much every day is a struggle and a lot of things come about our way. And resilience is the measure of how you're able to go past those challenges. So it involves bouncing back to the original state and growing from whatever disruptions have happened within your business. If you look at it from a business concept, it's adapting to this while protecting your people, your brand value and your assets, right? Because a company is more than just what you sell. It's also more than just the people. It also has a reputation and an image which you have to protect. And when there is a disruption in especially D2C or any brand for that matter, bad news travels with wings. The first bad referral or testimonial you get will travel faster than you can imagine. So what we look at is making sure that we are ensuring continuity despite these conditions. So I'll draw a scenario to give you some context. I think looking at the group here, everyone's gone and tried to hail an auto. Like back in the old days, 2012, was probably in what, 10th standard, 11th standard. We've all tried to do this. We've gone and hailed an auto. You come out of the bus stand or the airport. You have the typical situation where you negotiate, haggle and arrive at a price with the auto driver. Never has there been a time where you just sit in with the meter going on and you go home, right? It's pretty much a negative experience. But this was only up until 2012. Something happened in India, especially Bangalore in 2013, and that was Uber came into play, right? So Uber came in and they sort of destroyed the entire system for auto drivers. They changed how everything runs. And what did they do? They changed things on both the auto driver's side as well as the customer's side. From the auto driver's side, there was a shift in the customer expectations, right? Every customer now wanted the same standardized price. There's no negotiation. There's no talking to the person. You get in, you give your OTP and you start your way. There was also price standardization and convenience because everybody was looking for convenience. Today, that's the reason you have 10 apps on your phone as opposed to probably one. And this is what Uber brought in. And you could imagine a single auto person probably in his 40s back then and how he had to change completely to having a digital phone. It disrupted the entire market. So the positive was a lot of people did take on the challenge, and how it helped them is more than just Uber. There was Mayur, there was Ola and many other players came in. So they were able to have a diversified income, and of course they were giving better service quality because now it's such a pleasant experience. You won't even know. You sit in, you reach your destination, you walk out, you probably pay digitally and it's seamless. And besides that, they have better reach. Sometimes my auto driver comes from 15 minutes away, 20 minutes away, and he's still able to get business. So technology disrupts, but also gives you opportunity, and those who capitalize on this will stand the test of time. Now, is it worth your hassle, right? Business resilience sounds like such a big word. I help a lot of companies with their marketing and sales processes, and that's why I sort of contribute towards business resilience. I talk directly to the founders of companies because they have the most interest in the company's growth. They generally come and tell me 2.5x next 3 years. This is the turnover we want, this many leads, how will you get it? And I have to build systems and processes, and my team has to essentially get them the leads or the business. This is my typical day-to-day. Never in human history has technology had this much of an impact on our lives. And the thing about that is it's extremely quick, extremely fast, and it creates a lot of transformation and with that disruption, because you would have built a company, 3-4 years invested, you'll be at a certain place and there will be some tech which comes in and blows you away. It happened to me right after COVID, and I will show you that in the next couple of slides. So the question you should ask yourself is, if you should look at business resilience, the last question at the bottom is what you should consider. Do you want to survive or are you looking to thrive? That is the differentiator which decides if you want to have business resilience and processes in place or not. It's a must have for companies who want to scale and be future proof. The people on the dais before me, both Varun and Srinita would have mentioned this in different ways, which I will quote again. I have that here. So typically if you're starting, this is the only 4 steps I have. Rest of it is a little bit of case studies for you to understand what journey I've faced and how I've addressed it, challenges versus outcomes. So the first thing is you scan and look at the key processes in your company. Every company has a set of processes which they critically depend on. It could be people, it could be a product, your manufacturing, your logistics. There will be something that you're heavily reliant on and you probably couldn't do without. That's the first thing that you should check and see where there are potential risks. The next thing is think of the worst, right? I'm sure all of you or some of you who would have watched Interstellar would have heard of Murphy's Law, right? Everything that can go wrong will. So pretty much plan for things that you could do if something fails, especially the most critical parts of your business. Act on it, try to do it in a vacuum and see if it works or helps, monitor it regularly, and if it works, incorporate it in your business and take it forward. So pretty much simple 4-step measure. I'm sure the veterans know this at scale, but I've sort of simplified it for people who are just getting into this. Is it just me or is the clicker slow? Okay, yeah, sorry. So in any company you will have systems, large units in the company which involves people, processes, tools and more, which will be running a function for your business. Within that system there will be multiple processes and within that there will be multiple tasks. It's a domino effect, right? One thing fails, everything all the way to the top breaks. So it's best to plan top down when you're looking at it. Look at a particular system, the most critical processes, and finally tools or tasks are only a way to ensure process continuity. You shouldn't depend completely on your tools, softwares. It's more the process which has to be robust and the tools can always be replaced, and with time that happens. If I were to put it in a chart, this is the last chart, the last boring slide. Identify systems and processes that you have, assess the vulnerability, analyze what threats they might face, develop a strategy to mitigate it, implement the measure, monitor, review, update, and it's cyclic, right? I'm just holding the slide for anyone who's taking a photo. Awesome. So the do's and don'ts, keep fallbacks for critical processes, make sure you're analyzing it regularly and monitoring it, and think ahead. Time is always a determining factor when it comes to resilience. You should try and think 3 years ahead, 5 years ahead. You see it happening in a separate field, it will probably happen to your field someday or the other. For example, automation, we all think our jobs are safe, or sometimes we're worried if our jobs are safe. If you see a lot of corporates firing a lot of people because of technology coming into place, chances are it could disrupt our industry as well. The don'ts, don't keep all your eggs in one basket. Even if it's the most robust thing in your company, the most robust process, it could fail. Always plan for that. Don't forget to learn from every disruption, because every lesson learned and some learnings you incorporate in your business will help you scale. And don't rely on tools and software, look more at processes. I think these are the kind of disruptions that I have seen in my company and companies that I work with. Out of the 450 clients, this is the most common that we see. The first one, ChatGPT, every single message you see on Instagram to learn a course is pretty much about some AI tool. So technology is a big disruptor, though it's the largest enabler. Competitive disruption, because in my field, somebody negotiates for 1,000 rupees and I lose a contract, right? It was like that before COVID. I give a proposal for 1 lakh, someone gives it for 95,000, 96,000, they get the deal irrespective of how good or bad the work is. The apple to apple comparison is more so than just what value you provide, it's finally down to price. So it is a very real thing where you might be doing something brilliant, but your pricing or some aspect of your communication might be different from your competitor and you might be losing out. Market disruptions are common. For us, ChatGPT was a market disruptor because we were into content creation for a while and we had to pivot, and I'll tell you about that a little later. Customer expectation disruption is essentially what I told you about Uber. The customer expects different things, so you will have to tweak and modify what you do to match. And the last one is more other things that come about, like regulatory, workforce, or obsolescence. Obsolescence is where your offering becomes obsolete. Regulatory, an example is I work for a company called BYD. They manufacture electric cars. They're a Chinese brand. I do their marketing and sales in Karnataka. And recently in March, there was a law or a rule from the government saying that there's a 10% additional tax for luxury cars, and they're an EV, so they were disrupted massively. Their sales dropped from 100 leads a month to 15 or 20 leads a month, and that was this March. So we are also helping them pivot and they're coming back, but these are the kind of things that happen very, very often. So the first case is one of my customers, one of my oldest customers, they were solely dependent on SEO because they were number one in SEO, 40 keywords on Google first page. They were getting more than 200 leads a month, no problems at all. And there was a major algorithm update on Google in October 2019 called BERT, because of which overnight they went from the first page of Google all the way to 5th, 6th, 7th page. Now they had people to give salaries to, they had investments, they had money to pay, and their leads stopped overnight from 100 to 0, right? Pretty much they didn't get a single lead because organic 5th page, nobody goes. You could hide a corpse there and nobody would find it. So what we did was, for that segment of time till they come back and they adjust to the algorithm, we started pushing Google ads and helped them come on the first page of Google. They did have to pay more, but they were still able to get leads. It's a very simple strategy, but I say combine your efforts to make sure that you are mitigating your risks. Second is a slightly more simplistic one. We run leads for people. The lead source comes to the website, they fill a form, it goes to a CRM. A CRM captures all your leads. This customer had data from 4 years, and due to some mishap, they lost all their customer data from 4 years. So no remarketing, no customer communication, no data. And they were lost because our job also stopped. But the good thing is, when we started with them, before we built the CRM, we had built a Zapier automation for the leads to also go to Google Sheets. So every lead, when the form is filled, parallelly it used to go and sit on Google Sheets as a backup. And because of that, they got around 4,500 or 5,000 lead data back just from a Google Sheet, because of a simple automation we built and left using a free platform. So having a backup never hurts. Don't rely completely on software. This is what I was talking about. Having an alternative is a good option. I think there's only one or two more. So we work with a lot of international brands. In 2021, one of our Korean clients wanted to disengage from us, because generally we have something called the one iteration policy. If my client gives me a design, within one iteration I should give him a completed product that he can use in marketing. This client, the Korean client, the iterations were 7, 8, 9, 10, and I had an experienced person with 7 or 8 years experience working with the client. The problem we figured was communication gap. So what we did was, we had a newer person who was 1.5 years old in the business, but the good thing is she was a huge fan of K-pop, K-drama, and she would always binge on Netflix K-series, right? So this was not my idea. It was a recommendation from the team to put her along with this person in the company. And the good thing is, we still work with this client today. They're called SenseFix. They're funded, and we still have this brand, and we're signing a 2-year contract. So that simple switch, and that the first person has left, and she's the Spock now. So that simple switch made us hold on to the client and gave me a lot of revenue for a couple of years. Last 2 points, guys. Don't worry, I won't keep you. This was the biggest thing that helped me and destroyed my business in the same time. ChatGPT came in and made our content team irrelevant. 25 clients I had back in 2019-20, and I needed a 6-man content team to build content for them. The gentleman there, I'm sure, understands content creation and how important and potent it is. ChatGPT came in, and people used to come and tell me, when I can get a free software which does this for you, why do I need you? So I had to pivot, and so did a lot of content writers. Now we work with 2 content writers and 5 or 6 subscriptions of ChatGPT Pro. But what we pivoted to from our perspective as well is SEO friendly content, because ChatGPT does not build content for search engines. Google scraps your content which is written for search engines. It directly tells you that it's considered spammy or not generated by user generated content, right? So emotional intelligence is something that still AI tools struggle to do as much as people do. We can tap into emotions, our writers can, but AI tools not so much. Nuanced content, situational content, I think people can imagine and think about more stories and bring it to life as opposed to AI tools. And definitely for secondary research, I found that a lot of information that comes isn't reliable. So I use my team, especially in areas like India where there is dark data, where not everything is online, some data is not known. For example, if I ask you how many Kirana stores are there in Chickpet, no Google tool or AI tool will tell me. Probably have to go and count by foot, right? So these kind of areas, it doesn't really help. The other disruptor I think affected all our lives was COVID. Millions of lives displaced, lakhs of businesses impacted, and tens of thousands of businesses closed, including my clients. They used to tell me, if I don't have money, what will I give you to do marketing, and what will I sell to the customer, right? But there are a lot of companies which thrived. Cloud kitchens became a huge thing. Before that, nobody even knew what was a cloud kitchen. Today, nobody hesitates to buy from a cloud kitchen. Urban Company, that was pretty much my barber and many other things for a couple of months. Licious for meat, although I don't, but yeah. Nykaa, I think a lot of the ladies will attest to how convenient it is to get stuff now at home. Netflix, pretty much everyone here has a subscription. Upgrad, education was mentioned. Zoom, I pretty much lived on Zoom for 12 hours a day. And Amazon, most of our money goes there anyway, so might as well give it a good mention. So that's about it, guys. If I leave you 2 points, it's to think about competitive resilience. We often forget about this. We are in a vacuum and thinking about our product. But finally, it's a dog eat dog world and it's a rat race. You will have to go out there and fight with someone else. Please think about this because this really makes a difference. And last is innovative resilience. The last anecdote from my side is we purely used to do vanity metrics, social media, influencer marketing and things which were likes, follows and shares. Post-COVID, nobody cared about those things, right? It was all about 1 rupee I put, I want you to give me 10 rupees, otherwise I'm not working with you, pretty much straight and simple. So we stopped all business and we pivoted from a communication company to a pure lead gen performance marketing agency. Now if the customer doesn't ask me for leads, I tell him I'm not the right person for you and walk out the door. Otherwise they won't keep me. Most of my clients now have me for 4 years, 5 years. There are people who solely use my agency for their complete business. Now they're funded by groups like Manipal and bigger companies. Had I not moved on from where I was and found an uncomfortable spot and adapted, I would have for sure perished. Yeah, that's about it. The last quote, I leave you with a positive quote. I saw the gentleman putting a quote, so I quickly put one quote of my own. It's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one that's prepared and responsive to change. Thank you.